In this video, we're going to look at how we can use Excel's map charts to compare values across different geospatial regions. To create a map chart, you must of course have some geographical data. Countries work really well, states, provinces, regions can also work depending on the country you're working with. Rowan has a data set showing the varying biocapacities for different countries. And he'd like to be able to compare these on a world map. He's going to do this using a map chart. Let's start by selecting our data. So I'm going to select B3 and C3 and then press Ctrl-Shift down arrow and then scroll up again, or our chart will be created halfway down the sheet. Now we're going to come to our Insert tab, and in the Charts group we're going to look for Maps. You will need Office 2019 or Microsoft 365 to get this feature. When we click Maps, you'll see there's a filled map, and we're just going to click on it to apply. If there is a problem and it doesn't recognize your geographical data, you will get an error bar at the top explaining that, but our data is absolutely fine, and that's looking great. Let's make a few important changes though. In a moment, we're actually going to filter the data to allow us to zoom in on specific areas in the chart. But if I were to hide some rows, I'll just quickly demonstrate. So I'm going to select some rows and I'm just going to right click and hide. And the chart immediately minimizes. So we need to be a little careful. If we don't want our chart to resize when we change or hide our cells, we need to specify that. So let's start there. I'm going to click onto my chart and Ctrl+1 or just double click to open your panel on the right. And we're going to click on our chart options and just expand properties if you need to. And you have a choice to move and size with cells, move but don't size with cells, or don't move or size. And it's that third option we want in this case. We can also change the way the actual map projection is shown. So I'm going to click somewhere into the data itself. And we're going to start by looking at our series options. This is our automatic map projection, but there are different styles of map you can choose from. Have a look through. I particularly like the Miller one. You can also choose what map area you see. By default, it will show you all the regions covered in your data. So if I only had regions in the US, it would only show me regions in the US. You'll notice that where there is no data for the region, it is grayed out. There are two other options, however. I can show only regions with data, and what that will do is hide all the regions that don't have data. So you can see those grayed out areas have disappeared, as has a little piece of Africa and a little piece of South America, because we don't have data for those areas. The last option is world, and that will always show the whole world map regardless of which areas have data. Now for ours, we actually want to force it to zoom in on particular areas as we filter, and for that we're going to need to use only regions with data. You can also specify that you want map labels. If I click Show All, it tries to squeeze them all in, but a lot of them are not fitting properly, so I would actually recommend going for Best Fit Only. And then we can also change our series color. And this is biocapacity, so I think shades of green might be better. It does it on a sliding scale, or gradient if you like, so we need to specify our lowest value. I am going to go for quite a pale green. And then my highest value, I'm going to go for a more vivid green. Just makes the map look a bit more exciting. All right, so that's everything I wanted to do in the formatting panel. I'm going to close that up. A couple more tweaks though. Let's move our legend to the bottom of the chart. So I'm just going to come to Legend and specify bottom. And let's give it a proper chart title. So I'm just going to triple click in there and type biocapacity. And that map chart is looking great. But now we get to the exciting bit, being able to zoom in on particular areas of the data by filtering our chart. Now I'm going to actually just move the chart over a little bit to the right to give me some space. And we're going to actually create something called a slicer, which is a very intuitive way of filtering data. But in order to use the slicer, I need to have a table or a pivot table. Now, we had a look at tables in the previous course, but here's a quick reminder. I'm going to click into my data. I'm going to come to Insert, and I'm going to choose Table. It automatically identifies the table data, provided that your first row contains your headings. So you can just say OK. Now, it has added some funky formatting. If you don't like that, you'll see in the table ribbon, you can switch it off altogether, or you can go for something more to your taste. But more importantly, having added our table, on the Table Design ribbon, you will see an option to insert a slicer. And that's what we really want. So I'm going to click Insert Slicer. And you can have as many slices as you have columns or fields. We want to filter by region though. So I'm just going to tick Region and say OK. Now it's popped my slicer onto my sheet. I can move that across just by dragging it. And you can resize using the resize handle, so I'll make that a bit smaller. And you can format it as well. So with your slicer selected, you get a slicer ribbon and a gallery of slicer styles, similar to our table. I'm going to go for the blue. So that's creating the slicer. Let's see how easy it is to now work with. I'm going to click onto Americas. It has filtered the data to only show countries in the Americas, and by filtering the data, I filter my chart. There's Asia, there's Europe, and if I want to just get back to my whole world, I come to the top right-hand corner and clear the filter. So 3 really simple steps to creating a totally interactive geospatial visualization. Start by inserting a map chart, convert your data to a table, and then insert a slicer.